Iruma was an ugly, disgusting, worthless loser who was bullied by his own useless parents that forced him to risk his life ever since he was a child. They never allowed him to attend school or have any friends, but instead made him clean up after their disgusting lives. And because they were too lazy to hold a job, they forced Iruma to become a criminal to earn their living. Eventually, he managed to secure a job smuggling illegal fish products across the ocean. But while they were in the middle of a dangerous storm, the giant fish began falling on his weak and worthless body. But before one of them could crush him, time froze in that instant, and Iruma was teleported to a different dimension in front of the Demon King. His parents had sold him off to the blood-devouring demon Sullivan, and while they traveled inside the demon world, Iruma realized that his life was about to end. However, the demon had placed him on a throne, and got on his knees asking him to be his grandson. His entire life he'd been alone, so he promised to spoil Iruma and give him everything in this world. After living a life filled with misery and torture, this was the first time someone would care about him, so Iruma decided to accept. And Sullivan instantly transformed the throne into a luxurious room for his new grandchild. Along with his new clothes, Sullivan told him that he'd be enrolling at the demon school. But because demons could smell human blood to eat them, Sullivan soaked Iruma with a purple liquid, and told him that he was glad he accepted, because if he didn't, he would have eaten him for dinner. The following day at school, all the demons flew above Iruma to enter the New Year ceremony, and Sullivan welcomed everyone as the principal of the school. And Iruma realizes that he's about to have the hardest school life. He begins showing embarrassing photos of Iruma to all the students, and instead of having Asmodeus give the welcoming speech, Sullivan forces Iruma to take his place. As he struggles to speak, all the students wonder why a weakling like him is representing their school. But a paper materialized from thin air, and Sullivan telepathically told Iruma to read the words on the bottom. So before everyone, he began reciting the words, but as he kept going, every single one of the students and teachers were shocked with fear. With each word, the mana in the room began to destroy the walls, and when he let the final word out, a green energy emanated around him. All the students screamed in shock, and one of the teachers told him that he shouldn't have been reciting the forbidden spell, as messing up a single word would have exploded his body. However, Iruma had no idea what the was going on, and the teacher congratulated him on being the only idiot to risk his life for a worthless spell, because its only effect was protecting him from falling the entire day. As he began walking off the stage, Asmodeus glared towards him and teleported him to the arena, saying that he will crush him to prove that he's the one worthy of representing the freshman class. With everyone watching them, Asmodeus launched towards Iruma with a fireball, and continued launching a barrage of attacks that exploded the building. Even though his powers exceeded every other student's, not a single shot was landing on Iruma, and Asmodeus began wondering why everything was missing him. By the time he was out of energy, Asmodeus wondered why he wasn't ever able to land a hit. But Iruma was the only one who knew how to dodge everything thrown at him after his parents had forced him to risk being killed his entire life. This was finally his chance to apologize, but all the students thought he was the strongest demon to ever walk their school, and thought Asmodeus was a coward. So after hearing all their screams, Asmodeus decided to take him down using his martial arts. But after launching towards Iruma, he evaded his attack and used his strength against him, sending him launching towards a girl. In the last moment before they would fall, Iruma grabbed onto him, and his anti-falling spell had activated. The only thing that remained after the dust settled was Iruma's body suplexing Asmodeus. The following day, Iruma knew his life would be over if Asmodeus faced him again. But in that moment, Asmodeus entered the room and walked towards Iruma, getting on his knees and pledging his life to learning from Iruma. By the following day, as Iruma arrived at the school, Asmodeus appeared before him and offered to show him around. As they walked through the school, Asmodeus told him that they were drawn into the same group and would be learning to summon magical beasts once they arrived. When they arrived inside the hall, Asmodeus told him that their success in the summoning ritual would determine the class they fall into, but said that their instructor was an ugly, horrendous moron who loved to fail all his students. As he let out those words, the door burst open, and the mean-looking instructor appeared before their eyes. He introduced himself as Caligo, and said that he would be directing them for the test. He told them that his duty was to determine how useless they were, and to kick them out of the school like worthless garbage. As he stared straight into Iruma's eyes, he threatened to destroy him for being too ugly, and said that he would kick him out of the school once he found his chance. If only Iruma had told the professor than this gloomy professor, because he has to wake up to his ugly face every day.
Damn!
To explain the process of summoning a beast, the instructor decided to reveal a magic mirror. He said that their first duty was to draw a bloody circle on their parchment, and to hold it over a magic candle until a summoned beast appeared out of the smoke. When a girl asked if they could be attacked by their summoned beasts, the instructor vanquished the mirror as part of his weird demonstration, and said that their beasts would be destroyed if they failed to serve them. Before long, the first student put her parchment inside the flame, and managed to summon a cute monster. Within a moment, most of the students had summoned their own little monster. When it was Asmodeus's turn, he began to burn his parchment, and as the smoke rose before him, a dragon appeared, leaving everyone in shock. By the time it was Iruma's turn, he began to wonder how he would summon a beast since he has no magical powers like the demons. However, when he began to burn his parchment, he realized that this was his perfect opportunity of getting kicked out of the school, and thought that he would be allowed to return to the human world. As his parchment began to burn, a blinding light appeared before him. Before his eyes, a dark flame began to burn, and the instructor appeared before him as his summoned beast. At this realization, Iruma and the instructor began to freak out. The instructor told him to stop the spell, so Iruma tried pulling him out. However, when he failed to do so, he decided to push him out the other way. At that moment, everyone realized that the instructor had transformed into an ugly, disgusting pet. The demons thought that Iruma was a mystical being for summoning another demon, and Asmodeus offered to do his laundry every Sunday. The instructor grew angry and told Iruma to break the seal between them, but lightning struck him for rebelling against his master. Later that day, Caligo tried asking Sullivan to break their spiritual contract, but he told him that the contract could only be cancelled after a year had passed. By the following day, Iruma had grown famous around the school, and all the boys thought he was their new Andrew Tate. While heading to the class with Asmodeus, a ball rolled into the boxes before them, and a girl emerged before their eyes. As she flew towards him like a useless creep, she began telling him that her name was Clara, and said a whole bunch of nonsense that should not exist in any dialogue. However, when she began to arrange the boxes, Iruma thought she was the prettiest girl he has ever seen. Asmodeus told him that she was the school weirdo who was avoided by everyone because she was too disgusting and ugly. A senior appeared before them, and taking them as companions, he bound them in an instant and cast them away. Inside the courtyard, Clara asked them to play with her because she was too useless to have any friends, but Asmodeus suggested that they run away immediately. However, when Clara started pleading, her words pierced straight into Iruma's heart, so he agreed to play with her. Hoping to add more losers to her squad, Clara told Asmodeus to join the party, but he told her that he would rather give out his kidneys until Iruma managed to persuade him into joining their company. After hours of running around the yard like filthy children, Iruma and Asmodeus became exhausted, so Clara tapped her little pocket and summoned a drink and snack for Iruma, telling him that she has the ability to summon whatever she has seen. Just then, 3 seniors called upon her and demanded for their usual drinks. After they left, Iruma asked if they were her friends, so she told him that they often played with her, but in truth, she was only their human vending machine. She told Iruma that he was the only person who has actually played with her, and hoped to play with him again. By the following morning, a freaky bird alarm woke Iruma up, and he hurried to school because he was already excited about meeting his new friends. That day at school, they started playing again. When they were done, Clara summoned juice for them, but Iruma thought it was becoming too much. Inside the school, as Clara was goofing off, she overheard the 3 seniors calling her an ugly goofball who would soon be dumped like a bitter ex-wife. They only missed having her around because of her ability as a vending machine, and their words made her sad. When she met Iruma in the courtyard, she decided to give him a lot of gifts, hoping he would continue to be her friend forever. However, when he tried telling her that he did not need her gifts, she began to cry, saying that no one wants to play with her unless she buys them off with her gifts. Iruma told her that he would remain her friend, and said that he has no desire to continue taking her gifts. Touched by his kind words, she began to roll around in excitement like a useless nuisance. As the 3 seniors arrived, they demanded for new drinks, so Clara summoned an entire vending machine and planted one of them into the ground for their time. The following morning, Iruma discovered that Asmodeus and Clara were waiting outside his home, and Sullivan was glad that he was starting to make some new friends. However, Iruma was uncertain about calling them his friends, and wondered if a human could befriend demons without getting eaten. At school, as Iruma and his friends tried to have lunch, a mountain of food was served before him, having been ordered by a rival group of students. Before they knew it, Iruma finished off the food like a glutton, and everyone wondered if the food went through his body. Iruma continued devouring more food as it was served until all food was finished inside the cafeteria. As Caligo walked inside, he came across Iruma, angered by the sight of him. He threatened to annihilate him once their summoning contract was broken. But when he began to leave, Clara held him back, saying that she wishes to see his true form as a summoned beast, and told Iruma to grab a magic sticker and clap his hands. As he did so, the instructor transformed into the ugly pet, and all the students were left in shock. That afternoon in the courtyard, Clara told Aruna that they would be moving into a new class the following day, and hoped that they would all remain together. Hearing her words, Iruma decided to ask if he could call them his friends, but they had never heard that word before, and Asmodeus wondered what it meant. He told them that their friends were the people they chose to hang out with, so they agreed to become his friends. The next day, while having breakfast, Sullivan told Iruma that he had selected him for the Misfit class since he asked to be unnoticeable in the school, and Iruma thought it was the best decision in the world. While walking off to school, Asmodeus wondered why he had refused to fly with his wings, and thought that he merely wishes to strengthen his legs by walking. However, Iruma was too afraid to give him an answer. At school, they discovered that they were all chosen for the Misfit class, but Iruma was worried that he would not survive for long in the demon world. As they headed down a cave, Iruma realized that the class may become his worst nightmare. Before long, they arrived before a large creepy door. As Iruma opened it, weapons launched at him from a trap, but he rolled and dodged all of them, impressing the students with his skill. Asmodeus demanded to know why they set the traps, so a student told him that they intended to test the abilities of their newly joined companions. At that moment, Iruma realized that the Misfit class was a class full of nutcases. Before he knew it, a giant dude appeared before his eyes, saying that he had allowed himself to be impaled by all the weapons. He introduced himself as Sabnok, and said that he intends to become the new Demon King, and to rank highest on the scoreboard. As Caligo entered the class, he blocked off the weapons with his shield. He told them that he was assigned as their new teacher, and commanded them to head outside for a test to determine their ranks. When they arrived in a valley, he told them that their task was to retrieve the flag on a faraway hill. When Sabnok told him that he would follow the Cutthroat Valley because it was a shorter route, Caligo told him that the guardian of the valley was being overprotective, and would annihilate him immediately. When they were ready to take off, the demons drew their wings and flew away, blowing Iruma towards the edge of the cliff, and the instructor pushed him off to his doom. As Asmodeus flew through the valley, weird flowers launched needles at him, but he managed to evade them, and summoned his dragon to burn them all. When it was done, Clara appeared behind him, saying that she wishes to hop a free ride on his back. Before they knew it, they got tangled up, and fell towards the ground. At the same time, Sabnok tried forcing his way through the Cutthroat Valley, determined to win through this shortcut, and was convinced that he needed to prove himself so that he would become the new Demon King. Luckily, he managed to climb up a mountain before flying away. In the meantime, Iruma was being carried off by a demon crow. After he fell off the cliff, he was caught by the crow that was taking him home for dinner. However, after hearing a loud cry, it abandoned him and immediately took off. Meanwhile, Clara was being swallowed up by a giant flower, but Asmodeus cut it open and freed her. With Iruma nowhere in sight, he began to wonder how they would find him, and thought that he may have made it across the valley already. Iruma had fallen into a bird's nest. As he thought his end was near, he discovered that the bird was wounded. Hoping to treat its wound, he decided to slit himself and rolled a bandage over his hand as a demonstration to the beast. However, when he tried to open his bandage, a drop fell into the bird's wound, healing it in an instant. Excited by its recovery, it threw Iruma on its back and flew off with him. At the same time, Sabnok was finally getting his butt kicked by the guardian of the valley, and he realized that he was about to meet his end before becoming the Demon King. Determined to fight back, he bit his dog tag and summoned a weapon out of his lightning. Eager to survive, he charged at the giant bird, remembering his childhood desire of becoming the king, before striking the monster. With the beast unscathed, he bit another dog tag and summoned a new weapon before flying at the monster, but it remained unharmed from all his attacks. Even still, it knocked his blade into the air and cast him towards the edge of the cliff. However, Sabnok remained determined to prove himself, and screamed at the beast for being an ugly, disgusting monster. As it was ready to end him, Iruma appeared before his eyes, and managed to save him from his doom. Before long, they realized that the birds were a family, Iruma began telling the monster that he treated her baby and said that they would be leaving soon. Sabnok thought that this was his perfect opportunity to slay the guardian and immediately raised his blade. But Iruma told him to surrender before they were served his dinner, so they raised their arms in surrender. On the other hand, Asmodeus and Clara finally arrived at the Hugh, and they realized that Aruna was nowhere in sight. With all the students having made it to the Hugh, Caligo decided to cancel Iruma and Sabnok from the test. But a powerful wind blew at them, and the guardian began flying towards them. Afraid that it intends to attack them, Caligo prepared to end the bird, but Iruma started waving at them from on top of it. However, after they arrived, Caligo decided to punish them for returning late. He told the students that they would be ranked by a rank owl, and said that their ranks would determine their success in school. When Sabnok remembered that Iruma had rescued him from getting isekai'd, he thanked him for his support, and told him that he would consider him his rival for the demon throne. Before long, all the students received their ranking bandage. When it was Iruma's turn, he began pondering his future in the demon world. Before he could choose a badge, the bird flew away, but everyone realized that he was wearing a mystical ring. Sabnok remembered that his brother told him the new demon king would descend from a foreign realm and would make peace with all the monsters in the demon realm with the mystical golden ring, and thought that Iruma would become the next demon king. Iruma tried to take off the ring, but realized that it was stuck to his finger, and all the students avoided him when he tried asking for their help. When he discovered that there was a demon behind him, he tried getting it off, but the demon began screaming a noise that brought terrible pain on everyone. Looking to eliminate it, Sabnok suggested that they pull it out of the ring, but with a touch, he passed out immediately. When Asmodeus tried suggesting a new plan, it bit his nose, causing him to pass out instantly. Caligo thought the monster was too dangerous and tried slicing off Iruma's arm, but Sullivan stopped him just in time. When the monster tried screaming once more, Sullivan silenced it, making it return into the ring. He told Iruma that the ring was a gluttonous feeder ring that devours the powers of a demon when it was hungry, and said that the only way to keep it satisfied was by feeding it with more power. By the following day, Iruma discovered that he was ranked the lowest on the scoreboard since he could not retrieve a badge from the rank owl, but was glad that everyone would ignore his ugly ass because of his poor performance. However, the next morning, Sullivan decided to drop him off in a carriage and laid a red carpet in his honor, making him realize that it was impossible to go unnoticed. Inside the class, Iruma began wondering how he could return to the human world before his secret was discovered. But his friends appeared before him. As he watched Asmodeus and Clara play together, he thought that he was lucky having them as his friends. Inside a new class, the teacher introduced herself as Susie and said that she would be teaching them how to make flowers using magic. As a demonstration, she cast a spell on a plant, and it bloomed into a flower. When the students realized that a few seniors were watching them, Sabnok decided to utilize the attention and cast his own spell. But his plant turned into a monster flower. Looking to challenge him, Asmodeus decided to reveal his own burning flower, but Sabnok doused it with water. Angered by this act, Asmodeus tried blasting him with the flame, but the teacher cast large vines to separate them. Before long, all the other students made their flowers blossom. Iruma wondered how he could grow his own plant since he had no magical powers, but wished for a beautiful flower. Looking to try his luck, he cast a little spell, and a blinding light burst forth before him. As a large tree began to rise, it burst out of the tower and appeared as a beautiful cherry blossom. At the sight of this, the student president, Amory, realized that the tree was from the human world, and demanded to meet Iruma immediately. That evening, Iruma offered to clean the schoolyard, hoping to make up for his blunder, so the men led him to the dumpster and told him to get rid of all the trash. However, before he could begin, Asmodeus launched a flame to burn them up. He told him that he had come to offer his support and was willing to stay by his side forever. But Iruma was tired of seeing his useless, horrendous face, so he commanded him to head home. Inside the school, Iruma tried returning his cleaning tools, but bumped into Amory. As he tried to help her, she remembered her favorite comic book, and she realized that he was the human she was looking for, whom she hoped would translate the words in her comic book. However, she thought